You know, this stage idea that we put in, probably 8, 9, 10 years ago now, has turned out to be one of the greatest things that we've done with the show, because you never know who's going to be here. Stan Utley was here yesterday. Al Geiberger will be here this afternoon. And when you can get this kind of talent, Mr. Hank Haney, God, we really appreciate you being here, Hank.
Thanks, Greg. It's my pleasure.
Please welcome Hank. You know, I remember when you came here last year, and it was your first visit to Golf Expo, and the fact that you're back is a real compliment. We appreciate that. But I remember you talking about your impression of the Expo, and you've been a lot of places. You've seen a lot of these things, and I keep trying to tell people how lucky we are to have this here in Sacramento.
Oh, it's fantastic, and it's fun for me to be back. I mean, I enjoyed my time last year, and I just had a great clinic this morning out at the back of the range, so that was fun. And it's just, you know, it's fun anytime you're around passionate golfers, and obviously everyone in this area is very, very passionate about golf. And of course, you know, I've known the Mortons for many years, and they are icons in the golf industry. So anytime I get a chance to come here, it's my pleasure to be here.
Thank you. We just to kind of catch people up, because they may have missed our on-stage set last year. Tell us how you got from where you were to here today.
Oh, wow. I mean, the biggest way I got here was I met Mark O'Meara. I mean, that was it. I mean, I was a 23-year-old young teaching pro. I mean, I happened to be the director of the golf schools at Pinehurst Hotel and Country Club, the biggest golf resort in the world. And one day on the driving range at the end of it was actually Friday afternoon, he had just missed the cut at the Hall of Fame Classic. Mark O'Meara, who was, you know, a Rookie of the Year 2 years prior to that on the PGA Tour. He was 124th on the money list, and I met him, and he asked me to watch him hit some balls, and you know, next thing you know, 2 years later, he finished second on the money list on the PGA Tour. And you know, all of a sudden, everybody thought Hank Haney must know something. And you know, I felt like I knew a lot about the backswing. I probably didn't know too much about the downswing. I mean, I didn't give any refunds, but you know, I think about it all the time. I mean, to be honest with you, I mean, I've been so blessed in my career. So many great things have happened to me. All the touring pros I've worked with, all the people that I've met, all the students I've had, you know, lessons with. I mean, I've given over 55,000 golf lessons in my career, and you know, none of those things would have happened if I hadn't been fortunate enough to meet Mark O'Meara. And sometimes you just have to be in the right place at the right time. You have to have that one moment, you know, that one moment in time when something happens to you, or some person you meet, some event that happens, and that can change your life. And that was definitely one of those moments for me. There's no doubt about it. I mean, I you know, had a great run with Mark, and of course he got inducted to the World Golf Hall of Fame, so it worked out pretty good for him too. But boy, from my standpoint, I mean, if I didn't meet Mark O'Meara, nothing that's happened to me in golf would have ever happened.
You know, we've all got that person in our lives that made a difference, and maybe that person hasn't happened to you yet, but they will. Yep. They come along in everybody's life, and we all can point to someone. They go, boy, that really turned things around for me.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Yeah.
So what have you been doing the past year?
I've been teaching golf, but differently. I mean, you know, for 31 years I taught touring pros, but Tiger was my last student. 2010 Masters was my last term, and I said, when I'm done with Tiger, that's going to be it. I don't know how long it's going to last, but I had a great run, 6 years, and you know, he won 6 major championships and won a lot of tournaments. I mean, I don't even know how many. I kind of, you know, didn't keep track because I just was looking at the next week. But I know he won like 45% of his tournaments, so it was a great run. But I said, you know what, when I'm done with him, that's it. I'm going to be done. And I've kind of switched my career's gone full circle. I mean, when I first started teaching, I worked with amateur golfers, and like everybody here, and that's how you start off. And then I had the opportunity to work with touring pros for 31 years, and now I'm back to helping amateur golfers, and you know, on a bigger level, to be honest with you, I do my Hank Haney University video lessons that I have a lot of people that come up to me and say, Hank, I get your videos, and then I do a radio show every day, 7 days a week on Sirius XM, PGA Tour Radio. It's on at 7 a.m. Sacramento time, so I enjoy doing that. And we talk to a couple 100,000 people a day on the radio. And then I'm on Twitter a lot, and I do a lot of different events. I did clinics last year for over 15,000 people, so it's been great. And golf's been so good to me. And I feel like now at this point in my career, I'm doing different things to reach a bigger audience and hopefully, in some way at least give back to the game a little bit. That's been so good to me.
So you're not hurting for your next paycheck. You're doing pretty good.
I don't know about that. I'm doing all right.
You mentioned something.
It's been a long road. There's no doubt about it. The thing is, you build up.
Sure.
And when you think about, I'm 61 years old, so I've been doing this a long time. So, hopefully you get to a good level. But golf's been good to me. There's no doubt about that.
I just meant you didn't have much free time.
Yeah, I don't have that either. But I do. I have more than you'd think.
You mentioned something a minute ago that kind of fascinated me. You were a world-class teacher, and maybe you meant at the time, but you said, I knew a little bit about the backswing, but
yeah.
To be able to separate those is fascinating to me.
Yeah, well, when you're 23 years old, you might think you know a lot, but then when you're 61, you realize how little you knew when you were 23. And a lot of it has to do with experience. I mean, so much in golf teaching and in coaching in general. I mean, just coaching, it's experience. I mean, how do you handle the certain students? And I think that's one of the things that you see reflected in results that coaches get with different students. I mean, Butch Harmon's the most experienced coach, and he's obviously has the best record coaching. And Butch and myself, did the best with Tiger Woods. And there's a lot of young guys that Tiger's worked with after that, and they all had the answer, they all know everything, and and when they get in there, it's a little harder than they think. So experience means a lot. You have to know how to deal with the different students, and golf swing wise and understanding the golf swing. Yeah, I've learned a lot over the years, but I don't think that much has changed in quite a while in terms of that. But what does change is your experience dealing with different people and knowing how to handle different students. That's the part that I think in the end makes a big difference in coaching.
You said that you're still learning, and I'm not surprised by that. I mean, I find that refreshing. Al Geiberger was there yesterday and said the same thing. He's 79 or 80, I think. Sometimes as amateurs, I think we think, gee, if I could just learn this, I'll know it, and I'm good. And that's a dangerous thing.
Well, that's the one thing that's great about golf. It's an endless subject. So you never learn everything, and you can never master the game. And it's like when people come up to me and they'll say, Hank, I think I've got it. And these are my students. And whenever they say that, I always tell them, I say, well, make sure you enjoy it, because it's only temporary. I can promise you that. It comes and goes. That's the game. It's hard. I mean, it's hard to game. And you get it, and then you lose it, and then you try to get it back. And the difference becomes, you keep it for longer, and your good days are a little better than your good days used to be, and your bad days aren't quite as bad as your bad days used to be, and there's more good days than bad days, but that's how golf is. It's just, you're always going to be inconsistent with the game of golf, and I think it's one of the reasons why we all love the game so much, is because it is such a challenge.
I've talked sort of two schools of thought. One is if you take some lessons, you got to practice. The other school of thought is you got to get on the course and play.
Yeah.
Which would you put more emphasis on?
You're really good at this, by the way, because when we came up here, I asked Frank, I said, what are we going to talk about? He says, I don't know, we'll figure it out when we get up there. So he's pretty good at this. But well, you got to be able to play, and you have to be able to hit the ball in the range. It's just kind of like the mental game and the physical game. Like people will ask me, is golf 90% mental? And I'll say, yeah, that's probably just about right. Golf's 90% mental if the other 10% is 100% correct. Okay? So you can have all the mental in the world. If you don't have the physical, you're not going to be any good. You can be good on the range also, and you can maybe not be quite as good on the golf course if you don't manage your game properly. So I think it's a combination of both things always, but I would say this, most of the time when I watch people play, there's a lot of things that they could do better without improving necessarily their technique, but just improving the way they go about things, their course management, little things like where you tee off, teeing off on the side of the trouble. If the trouble's on the right, tee off on the right-hand side of the tee. If the trouble's on the left, tee off on the left-hand side of the tee. Always approaching your ball from behind. amateur golfers seem to always approach the ball from the side, yet every better player in the history of the game has approached every single shot from behind the ball, where I'm back here, the ball's there, and then the target's out in front of me, so you visualize the shot you want to hit, where you want the ball to start, which way you want it to curve, and you do that from behind, and it'll just make it automatically where you line up better. Things like that I observe when I watch people play. Like, they don't know how far they hit their clubs. They don't know how far they are when they're out there in the golf. That's why I play with the Sky Caddy. I know, I've got my yardages to the front, to the pin, to the back of the green. I've got information that I'm plugging into my computer, my brain, so I can figure out what's the best strategy to use. And a lot of times strategy can make a big difference in the way people play the game. Just taking as much trouble out of play as you can. If you can do that, you can eliminate penalty strokes. One of the big keys to the game is eliminating penalty strokes. So you have to be able to take trouble out of play. If you attack trouble on 18 holes, you're going to get into trouble. But if you can avoid it as many times as possible, there's not that many holes on the golf course where you absolutely have to hit that great shot if you just play smart. So there's so much to being able to play on the course. A lot of that you get from just observing, playing with better players. You see what they do, and a lot of it is common sense. But of course, when you're out there, things are going a little faster, and it's a little harder to think of. But I think playing, that's a big part of golf. I think the playing the game and the course management part, that's a big part that's left out in instruction, to be honest with you.
Basically, what you were talking about is basics and building a foundation. And when we're having those good days, we're standing behind the ball, we're looking at the target, we're doing all the things we're supposed to do, and little by little that stuff kind of washes away because we think we've got it under control and we forget where we started. So talk about the basics and and setup and what you have to go through and what you continue to do.
I mean, you want to have good fundamentals, but good fundamentals, a good grip and setup and posture and alignment and all those things, that's not going to guarantee you any kind of success. I mean, it's going to give you an opportunity. It's going to give you an opportunity to get better. But if you want to get better at golf, to me, it boils down to three things. There's three things you have to do. First thing you have to do is you have to eliminate penalty strokes. That's number one. Now, you can do that by doing a couple things. One, playing away from trouble, like I said, being smart about where you tee the ball up and where you aim, and just understanding that I hit my driver this far and the trouble's out there that far, so if I hit 3 wood, I can't get in any trouble. Knowing things like that. You have to eliminate your big miss. That's a big part of being better at the game of golf. You figure out what is your big miss, your biggest bad shot, and you fix that bad shot. Just fix that bad shot, then go to the next bad shot, then go to the next bad shot, then go to the next bad shot. And then the next thing you have to do to play better golf is you have to eliminate what I call 2 chips, 2 pitches, 2 sand shots. You got to eliminate those bad shots, get the ball on the green in 1 shot when you're close to the green. And then the third thing is eliminating 3 putts. And then within all those areas, you have fundamentals that are important if you're going to improve at those areas. But the first thing you have to do is you have to be able to diagnose with your game and what your problems are, where you're losing your shots, and then kind of work your way from there. But it starts with basic fundamentals. Once you analyze and figure out, okay, what do I need to do better? Most people don't really have a real plan to get better. And that's one of the things I always talk about. You have to have a plan. And once you get that plan, sure, it's going to be centered around, at some point, basic good fundamentals, no doubt about it.
That's really important. And when Stan was here yesterday, we were talking about that as well. And he said when a student comes in, he says, well, what are we going to do? Because he doesn't, like you, doesn't have an agenda. And I think we're at a disadvantage because we go to the doctor or we go to the instructor or we go thinking that they have something to tell us that's going to make us better. And we have to go in with some plan in mind.
Yeah, well, when you go to the doctor, you go and you tell them what your symptoms are. I feel like this, and this hurts, and I feel, this pain is coming from here and this, that. But when people come to me, they tell me everything they're doing wrong already. Like I'm like, I thought that was my job. You know, I mean, they don't tell you the symptoms. They tell you what their problems are. And I'm like, listen, all I need to know is what your golf ball is doing. Because at the end of the day, that is all that matters. Golf is what the ball does. And when I have people call me in, even on my radio show, and they'll tell me, my elbow's doing this, my knee's doing this, how do I stop doing this with my hips? And I'm like, excuse me, can I ask you a question? What does your ball do? Where does your ball go? Because that is the only thing that matters. All you're trying to do is fix what the golf ball is doing. You're not going to have a perfect swing. Nobody has a perfect swing. You can only think about one or two things when you're swinging. You can't change everything, but you can change what the golf ball is doing oftentimes with just one or two little adjustments, and that'll make a big difference. And if you really focus in on that, then you're gonna be on your way to playing better golf.
These are pretty good lessons we're learning here today, people. I would be remiss if I didn't thank Callaway Golf and our local rep, Russ King, for helping to get you here today. You've been with Callaway a number of years now.
Yeah,
Tell me about that relationship.
Well, I mean, I've been with Callaway just a couple of years now, and but the CEO of Callaway is Chip Brewer, who's done an incredible job. I mean, he's just been unbelievable what he's done at Callaway Golf. But before that, Chip was with Adams Golf, and I was with Adams Golf when Chip was there. So we go a long way back from our days in Dallas. So I mean, it's an honor for me to be with Callaway Golf. They're the #1 company in golf, and to be able to represent Callaway is an absolute dream. So we've had a lot of fun the last couple of years. They're really into creating content and going to the customer and giving them a reason to engage, and that's kind of where I come in. So because I like to help people. I like to help people get better, and we just designed a new wedge with Callaway, the Sure Out sandwich, which everybody in my clinic this morning got. And it's a fantastic club. Of course, I'm a little biased because I designed it, but I designed it with the average player in mind. I think sandwiches are typically designed for better players, and I've never really understood the way that they've been designed. So I wanted to design a club that was really for the masses that play the game, but also that good players could use, and I think we've done that. So we got a lot of good things that have happened with Callaway. They're obviously a huge supporter of golf and a sponsor in golf, and it's a great opportunity for me, a great relationship, and it just so happens they got great equipment, so it's pretty easy to tell. So I have people tell me all the time, on my radio show, oh, you just say that because you represent them, but I tell people the same thing all the time. Go try out equipment. You need to make sure, if you want to get better at golf, you got to have a club that fits you. You want to have the best equipment. It makes a big difference, especially the driver, but you got to get fit. You got to test it out. And I don't tell anybody to buy anything. I said, just go try it. Like my new Sure Out sandwich from Callaway, go try it. And what's going to happen is you're going to get the ball out of the sand trap. You can get the ball out of the sand trap all the time, and you're not going to get it out all the time with your other wedge. So that's one thing that's great. The driver from Callaway, the Epic driver, is phenomenal. I was talking with Tom Morton earlier. It's just so easy. I mean, you don't. I mean, all you do is just test it out. You can't. When you go sell equipment nowadays, you can't just sell it like you used to. Like, that club's good. People go test it. They test it on a launch monitor, and they compare. You compare it to this club to that club, and that's the way you want to do it. Take your club that you're currently using, compare it to the clubs here at the demo day, and then see which one works better. And at the end of the day, you're going to probably find that there's something that could help you a lot. And Callaway makes a lot of that equipment, so I'm very fortunate to be with them.
Again, that's one of the great benefits of the demo days that we're doing here, that you have every major manufacturer up and down that line there, and it's up to you. You go test them and try them, and you're going to know. You're going to find out. And as Hank says, you put it on a launch monitor. You have information that there's no question about. So, and quite frankly, that kind of process is available here year-round at Haggin Oaks. They have one of the largest fitting teams anywhere in the country, and a really nice fitting studio as well.
Well, and that's important, because if you want to find the right equipment, you have to test it, and you have to get fit. And I think a lot of times people just think, well, it's kind of all the same. It's not going to make that big a difference. I mean, it makes a big difference. a big difference, especially the driver. I mean, I go do outings and clinics, and like I was in Omaha, Nebraska earlier this week, and I had 50 people for my outing there, and I watched everybody tee off on the first tee, and I probably saw like 3 people whose driver I thought was the right driver for them. I mean, seriously, 3 out of 50. Wow. Now maybe some people had good drivers. They might have had really good drivers, but they didn't have them adjusted properly for them. Like, you're paying a lot of extra money for these adjustable drivers, and yet most people never even change the settings. So it can make a big difference, the equipment.
I call that the golfer's ego. You know, we think we know everything, and well, this driver's adjustable and I can do this, and when you consider just the number of shafts that are available, just to start with, yeah, the thing that goes into the head, tons of choices, and then the adjustment, it's really quite difficult.
Yeah, some of it is people just some of it is maybe the ego, some of it is they don't think it'll help them, some of it is it's intimidating because there's so many different ways that clubs can be adjusted, but if you get somebody to help you, it can make a big difference in your game.
Let's talk about a couple of things that might be on our minds here today. We've talked about the benefit of a good plan and maybe some lesson programs. I'm looking for a teacher. What's the first thing I do?
Well, I mean, to my way of thinking, I want to find somebody that has taken someone to the level that I aspire to be to. So if I'm a beginner and I want to just learn to hit the ball, then that's one level of instruction. If I'm 18 handicap and I aspire to be a scratch player, then I would want to know that instructor has taken 18 handicappers and got them to be very low handicappers before. Obviously, not everybody's going to have taught the best player in the world. I mean, when I first started teaching touring pros, it was with Mark O'Meara. I'd never taught a touring pro before. So that was a big leap that he took. I mean, I had no track record teaching touring pros, and somehow it worked out. But generally speaking, I would say I want to find a teacher that can take me to the level that I aspire to be to. So, for instance, if it's a junior golfer, my question might be, has that instructor ever helped a junior golfer who's gotten a college scholarship? Have you helped a golfer or multiple golfers get from a 36 handicap to an 18 handicap because I want to improve? Or have you ever helped somebody that's won a club championship? Or whatever it is, whatever level you're trying to be to, I think that's an important part of the evaluation first. Second thing is I want to find somebody that meshes with my personality. So I would never just sign up for a lesson. I mean, I would go and I would watch that person teach and coach first. I would go observe a lesson and see if it looks like their style is what I want. I mean, some people, when they teach, they talk all the time. Like if it was me and I was a student, that person would be driving me crazy. When I watch better teachers teach, they don't talk so much. They really keep their words to a minimum and make it count. So I would want to observe the teacher, and then I would look at who that teacher is trained under, who has mentored that teacher, because nobody has, everything just doesn't pop in your mind. Nobody's had all this stuff just pop in their mind one day. And when you see better teachers, typically they've been trained by somebody. They've been trained by somebody good, or they've mentored under somebody that was very, very good at what they do. So I think those are the factors that I would consider. And I would consider that I don't need to necessarily take more lessons, but I need to take better lessons. And I think that matters, because a lot of times people sign up for like a series of 6 lessons, and I'm like, quite honestly, I mean, you could take 66 lessons from a lot of instructors and it wouldn't equal 1 lesson from Hank Haney. So, I mean, it's not the quantity, it's the quality of the lessons. And I don't think you need to take a ton of lessons to get better golf. I think you should spread them out. Like if you're going to take 6 lessons in a year, take 1 every 2 months. If you're going to take 12 lessons a year, take 1 a month. But don't sign up for like 6 lessons in a row, and then don't take another one the rest of the year. That's just waste of money. So I would analyze the instructor, and then I would come up with a good plan. Once again, based on what my budget was for getting better golf, I'd come up with a good plan to try to improve.
I love it. Yeah, outside of Tiger and Charles Barkley, what was your What was your worst?
Everybody always brings that. It's always Charles Barkley, though. I mean, it's amazing. Like I taught the greatest player in the world during the most prolific time in his career. But I'm known for teaching Charles Barkley. But that's all right. I mean, I don't mind. It was not my shining moment in teaching, though. I have to admit. But he's one of my favorite people in the world. So I don't mind being associated with Charles. He's a great guy.
Well, that's why I took the top and the bottom out of this
Yeah.
equation, because the question was going to be, who else was your worst case scenario that you actually turned into a player?
Oh boy, I mean, I'd like to think I've helped a lot of people, get better that weren't great players, and I mean I know I have. I don't look at anybody as like to me, they're all just students. I don't look at I don't have good students. I've never had bad students. I just have students. They're all just students to me. Some are easier than others, some are harder than others, but they're all just students. It's just the way it is. And I think everybody can improve. I've never seen anybody that couldn't get any better. I mean, Charles, got better. It's just people have a standard that they want to apply that's not really applicable when you have a mistake that's as tough and as severe as his is. But obviously it helps when you have a student that is more passionate. I mean, that's my idea of a great student is somebody with a great attitude. That's all I care about. Just give me a good attitude. I don't care how bad you are. I don't care how much you struggle with the game. I don't care about your history of your failures. All I care about is just give me a chance. Just give me a good attitude. Just have an open mind and try hard and practice hard. And if you do that, you're my favorite student. That's all I care about.
How about some favorite students out there? Do we have any questions?
Yes, sir.
I think I can show you how you can make Charles Barkley improve by 60 strokes. You think that's possible?
Well, Charles improving by 60. Well, he definitely has the room to improve by 60 strokes. Whether or not it's possible is another thing. I figured out that he probably needs to play left-handed though.
No, he has to play right-handed. I broke my arm and I had to play one-handed.
One-handed, yeah. He does.
Anyways, all I did is take his hand back, straight back, like this, and then force it in like at the ball with your elbow and then down like that. He'll improve a lot.
I don't know why you didn't think of that, Hank.
And there's another one. I had one here like this where I started down.
Actually, that's how Charles does play when he plays at Tahoe. I noticed you have an American Century hat on. So he plays up there at Tahoe at the tournament, and he gets on the drive range and he hits it good. And then he goes to the first tee, and he tees it up, and all of a sudden he gets up there to the top, and he starts going like this, and then nothing happens. And then he usually tries again. And then he usually just swings one-handed, and when he swings one-handed, it actually goes pretty good. But our current plan is to turn him around to a lefty, and when he turns around to lefty, he doesn't hitch at all. So that's that as an instructor, you got to always find a way. So that's the way that's the way we're currently going.
When you do,
Let's ask for a couple more questions.
Of course, you have
Yes,
to
sir.
hold on to the club
Yeah.
with your left hand.
Oh my gosh, my favorite course to play. This is I guess a crazy answer, but I like them all. I do. I mean, I just like to play golf, but I have to be honest with you. I'm more into the golf experience than I am the golf course. So I like a great golf experience. I mean, I play at El Dorado Golf and Beach Club in Cabo San Lucas, Mexico, where we're fortunate enough to have a home, and we get like 3 or 4 groups a day on the course. It's a Jack Nicklaus course. It's not the greatest course in the world, although you see the ocean from a lot of the holes. It's pretty, but I love playing there. Like, I'd rather go play there than pretty much anywhere else, because I like the golf experience. They have what they call comfort stations, like every 3 or 4 holes, with everything you can want to eat and drink, and so that's my kind of course. Now, if you ask me what's my favorite course, I mean, I would say Pebble Beach. But if you ask me where I want to go play, I want to go play at El Dorado Golf and Beach Club, because there's like 3 groups a day, and you feel like you got, it's something special when you get out there and you feel like you're the only one on the golf course. But I like the golf experience. I like to play anywhere. I like to play with anybody. I don't necessarily just like to play with better players. I like to play with my friends that are no good, because it's fine, because that way, if I'm not playing good, I can always teach, and I know I'll get good results, and that's fun for me too. But I just like to play golf. I mean, that's what I like to do, and anywhere is fun for me to play.
Over here.
Yeah. Do I think Tiger will win any more tournaments or a major tournament? Well, first off, do we think he'll play in any more tournaments? That would be the first question. When you've had 4 back operations, and the last one was the real serious one. They're all serious, but they say nobody ever has 1 back operation. So now he's had 4 in a pretty small period of time. His game has. Let's just talk about a few things. One is back. He's got to get better so he can play. So if we make the assumption he's going to get better and he can play, how much is he going to play? How much is he going to be able to practice? Is he going to be able to get his game back? Because his game was not good. People act like, he's got to get back playing. Well, he doesn't just have to get back playing. He has to get back playing and improve his game, because his game was not good when he left the game. And I always believe in Tiger. I always think Tiger can win. I always think he will win, but he has to be able to play and practice. And will his body allow him to do that? And does he have the motivation and the determination to climb back up that hill, which is a very steep hill at the moment, not to mention his back, but his game and every part of his game. So I think, at the end of the day, he's 41 years old. He'll be 42 before he has any chance of playing again. And when you're 42, he's a 42-year-old professional athlete who's had 4 back operations and 4 knee operations. So when you look at it that way, it's like Charles Barkley always said. He says, "Father Time is undefeated," and it just is. Father Time is undefeated. So the odds get longer and longer, as you go. The clock ticks faster and faster as you get older. But having said that, there's just something in me that doesn't believe that Tiger's done. That if he plays again, he'll win. I look at all these players who win on the PGA Tour, all these different names of these players, and I'm like, and then people tell me, Tiger can't win? I'm like, this guy just won, and this guy just won, and this guy won a tournament this year, and that guy won, and my God, it's Tiger Woods. If those guys can win, Tiger Woods can win. He can find that 1 week when things go his way. He can win another major. But first thing he's got to do is he's got to be able to play in them. And he's got to play for some extended period of time, and he's got to practice for some extended period of time. And that's the part that's looking more doubtful than anything. And hopefully he'll play again. But in terms of his great golf and his best golf, that's it's probably in the past, but that doesn't mean there could still be good golf, because he's so good. And I watch these players today. They're great players. Don't get me wrong. I understand. Name them all, whoever you want to pick. I don't care. But none of these guys are anywhere close to what Tiger Woods was. Not even close. It's not even the same. It's not even the same ballpark, to be honest with you.
That one at the bank. Yes, ma'am.
I tried to watch the LPGA, but last time I watched it, they stole a tournament from this girl, and I'm like, so that kind of cured me of watching any more of that for a while. So I don't watch that much of it, to be honest with you. I talk about the PGA Tour on Sirius XM PGA Tour Radio, and that keeps me busy enough without having to follow the LPGA too. I'm trying to keep up on all the statistics and all the players and everything else. I thought, that tournament this year, that was just ridiculous, and it's terrible for golf. The USGA, they just need to get their act together, and they're trying, but they can't get out of their own way. And to have people calling in penalties, and like what happened to Lexi Thompson, But you know, I mean, after what happened to her, you know, at that tournament, she's my favorite player because she handled herself great. I mean, the fact that she kept going and kept, you know, and still almost won was absolutely incredible. I mean, the ladies are great, but you know, I enjoy watching. I enjoy watching the great skill that they have and everything. But I mean, I like to see power in the game, you know, and you know, when I watch Dustin Johnson or Roy McIlroy or Jason Day or those players, I mean, just how far they hit the ball and the way they play, to me, that's the ultimate. So that's kind of where I always gravitate towards.
We got time for two more.
What part of
Excuse me, let's give someone else a chance, please. Yellow shirt. Yes.
Why is Pete Dye such a masochistic golf designer? He's a very dear friend of mine, so I love Pete Dye and I love his golf courses. But here's the thing, you know, there was a trend for a long time that people would always tell the architect, design the toughest course you can. And I remember back when I was in Palm Springs in La Quinta, and he built PGA West, and his marching orders were build the hardest golf course in the world. So he went and built the hardest golf course in the world, which at the time it was the hardest. And you know, then people would come and say, "Oh, this golf course is so hard." Well, that's what they told him to build. Nowadays, everything's kind of switching around a little bit. People want to make the courses easier and make it a little bit more fun and enjoyable and make the game play quicker. So things have changed. But most of the time, Pete really followed his marching orders. Like his golf course that I love the most is in the Dominican Republic called Teeth of the Dog. And you go out there and it's very wide and it's not very penal, and you look and you kind of see a little bit of the, you know, Pete Dye in the course, but you don't see the severity, and you kind of think, gosh, is this really a Pete Dye golf course? So in his defense, most of the time he was building what, you know, people that were hiring wanted him to build, but there's no doubt about it, his courses could play difficult. He would always say they're not as difficult as people think, but he visually would intimidate everybody. Like he'll say, you know, there's tons of room over here to the right, but all they're going to see is the water on the left. And that's really true to a lot of people.
This has been the quickest. I wish I had time for one more question. Schedules do not permit, but I just have one more question for you, Hank. I mean, not everybody gets to write their story, but how would you like to be remembered?
Oh my gosh! I mean, you know what? That's not up to me. So, you know, I all I know is that, you know, I have tried really hard. Like I know in my mind, in my career and everything, I've been a very hard trier. And that's the most important thing to me. I always give my best effort. I've always tried to give my best effort, and I feel like I always have. And you know, I feel like that's been, you know, the big key to my success. To be honest with you, it's like when people ask me, you know, how have you been successful? Well, I mean, I've been fortunate, I've been lucky, but I've always tried really, really hard. So I think I've cemented that part, and the rest of it, you know, I'll take whatever comes my way.
Well, if I had to write it, I would say professional, advocate of the game, and a gentleman. Thanks very much for being here.
Thank you very much. Thank you, guys. Thank you so much. It's always my pleasure. Thank you.